On 7:30, did you see the report?
Oh well, look. Firstly, I'm here because of the kids that you see behind you, and it's a great competition, and we're going to see these youngsters run out. They've just started, and hopefully it's going to be a great game of footy. The competition has been going on for 11 years, and we're very proud of it. So that's why I'm here. I didn't see the broadcast last night, but I did watch it this morning.
What did you make of it?
Oh look, I mean, I've said all along there's serious allegations that have been made, and a lot of the allegations I was familiar with and were part of the Asada investigation, and there are one or two things that we picked up that we'll look into, but. It's serious allegations, and that's why we need to get the investigation finished, and that's what we're working on.
And those allegations were coming from the man you actually appointed to run the Sharks.
Well, I mean, the man I appointed, you're talking about Steve. Sorry, you're talking about Bruno. Bruno did a good job, and I was pleased with the work that he did, and many of the things going into the club where they'd identified some weaknesses that Bruno picked up, and he did a good job. So Bruno left for his own reasons, and that's on the record. So I don't need to talk too much about that. Steve Noyce has picked up the baton, and I know he's continuing the work that Bruno did. So I'm comfortable with where Steve's headed.
Dave, were there things in that report last night that surprised you, things you didn't know?
Probably the one thing that I picked up from the report is on the bank account, and I've spoken to Jim Doyle, I spoke to I've just spoke to Noisy, I spoke to Damien Keogh this morning, so we'll put the integrity unit onto that to have a look at what those allegations are, and we'll see what we get to. The rest of it is part of a serious investigation, and I was aware of it.
With the bank account, I mean, it suggests that money was being used to pay for the program. I mean, outside, no one knew about. It was all secret squirrel. I mean, your thoughts on that?
Well, look, my thoughts are, I've spoken to Jim Doyle this morning, and I'll put the integrity unit in. They'll work with the club. The club's happy for us to do that, and we'll take a look at it. We'll look at it from top to bottom and see where we land. And once we've had a good look at it, then we'll take whatever action we need to take if we need to take any.
Is it normal that a club would have a separate account to pay for a gym?
Oh, look, I don't know the details of the account. I heard what you heard. So what we need to do is have a good look at what actually has happened. Have a look at if the account existed, what it was used for, and all the things that you'd expect the investigation team to do. I'll ask the integrity unit to do that.
Bruno Cullen said that he saw the Cronulla Sharks as an accident or a disaster waiting to happen, and that's unfolded. Why has he come up with that opinion?
Well, look, we put Bruno and a number of other resources in post the initial launch of the Asada investigation, and I think Bruno and the team and the new board of Cronulla Sharks have worked hard on some of those weaknesses that they'd identified, and Bruno had made some progress, and Steve's picked up the baton, and we'll keep pushing forward. And any weaknesses that need to be identified, you'd expect the board to consider those weaknesses and close them.
But he did this interview last week, and he's saying it was a disaster waiting to happen, and that's what happened. Are the Sharks a disaster waiting to happen?
Look, I was really pleased with the work that Bruno did. He did a good job. He was there for 5 months. He's handed over the baton. He left for his own reasons, and we'll continue the work. At the end of the day, the Cronulla board have got to be satisfied with the environment that they've got, and I think they're making a lot of progress.
Will the Sharks survive this?
Well, look,
are you confident the Sharks will survive all these inquiries?
What we're doing is we're part way through an investigation. I made it clear all along that one, they're very serious allegations. Two, the investigation's got to be allowed to run its course, and we should not be presuming guilt just because it's playing out in the public arena. And three, that we want it to happen as quickly as possible. So all of those things are underway. There's some new information last night which we will take very seriously, as we've taken the whole thing very seriously so far, and we'll get to the bottom of it and take it to the next step. The best thing we can do is get the investigation finished, get Asada to finish the investigation. If there's infraction notice to be issued, let's deal with it. If there are other issues, let's deal with them. But let's do that on the basis of fact at the end of the investigation.
The other issue, Paul Gallen's
essentially quit in frustration. Did that set off alarm bells for you at the time? Well, look, I think Bruno resigned for his own reasons, and he was unhappy with the way that the board handled the reinstatement, and he has his own reasons for doing that. I think we've got a strong CEO in Steve Noyce, and I'm very comfortable that he can pick up the baton. And at the end of the day, that's a matter for the Cronulla board as to the decisions they make about their business.
Should those people be reinstated?
It's a matter for the Cronulla board to decide on the information that they've got as to how they manage the business. I don't run football clubs. What I do is I run the NRL. So at the end of the day, they make that decision. They make it, and you trust and you believe that they're using the information, and that's what they've done, and we'll support them on that.
The cash payments to Paul Gallen, the cash payments to Paul Gallen that came up in the report last night. Was that new information?
No, I think there's been a full salary cap audit as the game does every year. I think we issued a breach notice for that. We fined the club, and there's been ongoing discussions over 6 weeks about that. So that's not new information, and I think the club is dealing with that and dealing with any of the issues that come out of it, including the fine.
Does it show you how hard it is to try and keep a lid on that? Because you've got a whistleblower that seems to have come forward and blown the whistle on the Sharks. I mean, how do we know that this is not happening right across the game?
Well, look, the salary cap's in there for a reason, and it's been successful in the job that it's done. When we do the audit, we do a forensic audit, and any issues that we find, then we deal with, and that's exactly what we've done with the Sharks. And there were a number of other clubs as well where we found other things, but they're relatively small scale. And at the end of the day, the game deals with it. The clubs have a right of appeal, and we move through a process. It's a normal process that we do every year.
Just quickly, Shane Flanagan and what's happening at the Sharks. Once again, we sort of asked you, but roundabout, can you just tell us, is Shane Flanagan going to survive this, and will the Sharks survive this?
Well, look, you've got to let the investigation, and I'm sorry to repeat myself, I know it's tedious, but the investigation needs to get to the end. You know, one of my core principles is that it's simply wrong to presume guilt on the back of media speculation and things that we're reading in the newspapers or seeing on the TV. It's simply wrong. You've got to let the investigation run its course. You've got to deal with the facts. And when we deal with the facts, if we do find there are any kind of indiscretions, if there is any issues that would need the code to step in, we would step in appropriately and we will do the right thing. But you can't do that on the basis of half fact.
But you're saying media speculation, but we you know, your man is saying this. He's the guy throwing the hand grenades, Bruno Cullum. You employed him. You're saying it's media speculation, but it's actually coming from his mouth.
Sorry, the question was, you know, what are we going to do about Shane Flanagan?
All right.
And I don't think we should be asking personal questions like that. The point I'm making is every individual's got rights, and we should make sure that we don't presume guilt. It's as simple as that. And like any investigation, you need to get all the facts together, and that's what's happening. And once we've got the facts, then we'll deal with it.
Is it disappointing, though, that this is happening? It seems to be ongoing. What's your message to fans that are sick of hearing about this saga that's just been playing out over and over again?
Oh, look, my message to fans is we need to get the thing completed as quickly as we possibly can. There's serious allegations. I really understand how much this casts a cloud over. You know, simply this, we should be celebrating little boys and little girls, and we're here talking about the things that are negative. So I get that. It must be, from a fan perspective, it must be incredibly frustrating. From a game perspective, it's frustrating. But at the same time, you know, people have got rights, and we need to honour those rights, and we need to do the investigation properly, which is what we're doing, and we need to take every allegation seriously, which is what we're doing, and we need to make sure we're doing an independent assessment, which is what we and the Commission will do, and you need to get to the end of it. And the best thing I can do for fans is push as hard as I can to get to the end of it.